Welcome to your daily audiobook, a place where stories come alive through imagination, feeling, and quiet magic. Close your eyes, relax, and let the words guide you into another world. Today's tale unfolds gently, like sunlight across a mountain meadow, so sit back, breathe in the moment, and enjoy the story. Chapter 1. High in the quiet mountains, where the air feels bright and clean and the wind carries the scent of pine and stone, a lonely wooden house stands on a wide green slope above the valley. The clouds drift slowly across the sky, and the bells of grazing goats ring softly in the distance, as if the hills themselves are singing. Along a steep, winding path, a little girl climbs upward with quick and curious steps. Her name is Heidi. Her eyes shine with warmth and wonder, and her smile feels as light as the mountain breeze. Beside her walks her aunt, whose face looks tense and worried as she grips the girl's hand and glances often down toward the valley below. Heidi does not ask where they are going. She is too busy looking at everything around her, the tall trees rising like giant guardians, the wildflowers glowing among the grass, the sunlight resting gently across the fields. Every sound feels alive, the wind whispering through the branches, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant ringing of bells. The world here feels wide and full of space, like a deep breath. Soon they reach the lonely wooden house on the slope. Sitting beside it is an old man with a thick gray beard and sharp, thoughtful eyes. His face looks stern, but there is also a quiet sadness hidden deep inside it, like a shadow beneath still water. The people in the valley call him the Alm Uncle, and many fear him, for he lives alone and seldom speaks. He lifts his head as Heidi and her aunt approach. The air grows still for a moment, as if the mountain itself is listening. The aunt explains that she must leave and cannot care for the child anymore, so Heidi must live here with him now. Her words come quickly, and her voice sounds uneasy, as though she is trying to escape before doubt catches her. The old man says nothing at first. His gaze rests on the girl, who looks back at him without fear. Her expression is open, gentle, honest. Then, in a quiet, steady voice, he asks what she thinks of staying here. Heidi smiles softly and says that she likes this place. Something small and fragile shifts inside the old man, a feeling he has not allowed himself to feel for a very long time. He nods, and the aunt leaves, hurrying down the path without turning back. Heidi does not cry or call after her. She simply watches for a moment, then turns toward the house, already curious about her new world. Inside, the room smells of bread, wood, and smoke. Sunlight flows through a small window and lays warm golden patches on the floor. Everything feels simple and strong. Heidi explores happily and soon finds a little loft filled with soft hay, warm and sweet like summer grass. She decides that this will be her bed, and her laughter fills the quiet room like a bright spark. The old man watches her silently. He prepares a simple meal of bread, milk, and cheese, and they eat together. For the first time in many seasons, another voice shares the quiet space of his home, and somehow, the silence no longer feels heavy. Each day, Heidi follows the mountain boy Peter and his goats up to the high meadow. The grass there rolls like a green sea beneath the open sky, and wildflowers glow in every color. The wind sings softly as it brushes across the slopes, and the world feels peaceful and endless. Heidi lies in the warm grass, watching the drifting clouds and listening to the music of bells and breeze. Her heart feels free. The old man begins to smile more often. He makes a little stool for her, teaches her about the goats, and watches her with growing tenderness. The mountain no longer feels like a place of exile, it begins to feel like a home filled with life again. But one day, Heidi's aunt returns and takes her away to a distant city. The tall houses shut out the sky, the streets echo with wheels and voices, and the air feels heavy. Heidi is brought to live in a large, rich home where a pale, gentle girl named Clara cannot walk and must always sit in a chair. Clara watches the world from windows, longing to move freely. Heidi becomes her companion. She brings warmth, laughter, and the spirit of the mountains into the quiet rooms. The old house grows brighter with her presence, like a candle lit in a long dark hall. Yet, in the stillness of night, Heidi begins to feel lonely. The city has no wide grass, no wind singing through pine trees, no echo of bells across the slopes. She dreams of the mountains and wakes with tears she tries to hide. Her heart aches for the open sky. When her sadness grows too deep, she is finally allowed to return to the mountain. The moment she breathes the bright air again, joy rushes through her like sunlight breaking through clouds. The old man, who had feared he would never see her again, feels his heart flood with relief. Life on the slope grows warm and full once more. Heidi visits a kind grandmother in the valley who lives in poverty but greets her with love. Heidi promises to help her and brings comfort, food, light, and companionship to her small, dark home. Her kindness spreads outward like ripples across a quiet lake, touching every life around her. Then one summer, Clara comes to the mountain to visit. At first she trembles with uncertainty, and used to the steep paths and open air. But slowly, gently, the strength of the mountains begins to awaken something inside her. The sun warms her skin, the wind brushes softly against her face, and hope stirs like a seed breaking through soil. With time, courage, and Heidi's unwavering friendship, Clara rises from her chair and takes small, trembling steps across the grass. The goats lift their heads, as if sensing a quiet miracle unfolding. The old man watches from the doorway, his eyes shining with a feeling deeper than words. Joy rings across the hillside like a bell. The mountains, once silent and distant, now resound with laughter, hope, and love. Heidi's world, once lonely, fragile, and uncertain, becomes a place where hearts heal, friendships grow, and the wind carries not only the scent of pine and stone, but the promise of new beginnings. Chapter 2. Morning rises gently over the mountain, painting the sky with soft gold and pale blue. The air feels fresh and light, as if the world has just awakened from a deep and peaceful dream. Dew sparkles on the grass like tiny stars resting close to the earth, and the bells of the goats begin to ring softly across the slope. Heidi steps out of the wooden house, her bare feet touching the cool ground. The breeze brushes her cheeks and plays gently with her hair. She breathes deeply, filling her chest with the bright mountain air, and for a moment she feels as though she could float up into the sky with the drifting clouds. Peter calls from the meadow, his voice warm and familiar. The goats gather around him, playful and curious, their eyes shining softly in the morning light. Some nudge Heidi's hands as if asking for attention, while others leap over small stones with joyful energy. The mountain seems alive, whispering through the wind and rustling through the tall grass. Together, Heidi and Peter lead the goats up the winding path toward the high meadow. With every step, the land opens wider, revealing rolling hills, distant peaks, and deep green valleys below. The sun climbs higher, lighting every leaf, every rock, every flower with gentle warmth. When they reach the wide meadow above the world, the wind sings through the tall grass, and the flowers glow in bright colors, blue like the distant sky, yellow like sunlight, white like snow resting on far peaks. The earth feels soft beneath their feet, and the sky feels endless. Heidi sits on the warm ground, her face turned upward. She watches the slow dance of clouds as they drift across the open sky. The goats graze peacefully nearby, their bells creating a calm, steady music that echoes across the hills. Peter lies back beside her, hands behind his head, his eyes half closed with quiet comfort. Here, time moves gently. Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they talk. Sometimes they say nothing at all, letting the mountains speak in winds and echoes. As the sun rises higher, Heidi begins to notice small things others might overlook. The way tiny insects move between petals, the soft hum of wings in the air, the shimmer of heat above the rocks. The world here feels full of hidden life and quiet wonder. Yet beneath the beauty, the mountain holds secrets. Peter tells stories he has heard from the villagers, tales of strange echoes that speak at dusk, of lonely travelers wandering too far into mist, of paths that disappear when night falls. His voice grows softer as he speaks, and his eyes drift toward the dark line of forest at the edge of the meadow. Heidi listens, not with fear, but with deep curiosity. The shadows along the trees seem thicker, the wind slightly cooler, as if the mountain itself is listening to their words. Later, as the sunlight begins to soften, Heidi lies back and closes her eyes. For a moment, she feels the earth beneath her pulse gently, like a slow and steady heartbeat. She senses that the mountain is not only a place, but a presence, ancient and quiet, carrying memories older than anyone can tell. Down below, the world of the valley feels distant and small. Up here, everything seems connected, sky to stone, wind to grass, heart to land. When the sun begins to sink, the meadow glows in soft, golden light. Long shadows stretch across the ground, and the goats gather close for the journey home. The air turns cooler, and a faint hush falls over the hills. As they walk back down the slope, Heidi glances once more toward the darkening forest and the high ridges beyond. Something in the distance feels mysterious, calling softly, not frightening, but powerful, like a quiet voice hidden inside the wind. She does not yet understand what it means, but the mountain does, and soon, the secrets carried in its silent heart will begin to unfold, one moment, one choice, one unexpected visitor at a time. Who will arrive next on the lonely slope, and how will their presence change the life that has only just begun to heal? Chapter 3. Evening settles softly over the mountain, wrapping the slopes in deep blue light. The sky glows with fading colors, and the first stars begin to tremble gently above the peaks. A calm silence spreads through the air, broken only by the soft rustle of grass and the distant ringing of the last wandering goat bells. Heidi and Peter return with the herd, their steps slow and peaceful after the long day in the meadow. The wooden house stands warm and steady on the hillside, its small window glowing with a faint golden light from inside. Smoke rises quietly from the chimney, curling into the cool evening air like a delicate ribbon. Peter waves a simple goodnight and disappears down the path toward the valley, his figure slowly fading into the shadows. Heidi watches him for a moment, then turns toward the house, where the old man waits silently by the door. Inside, the room feels calm and safe. The faint smell of warm milk, wood smoke, and fresh bread lingers in the air. The shadows move softly across the walls as the firelight flickers. The old man places a simple wooden bowl before Heidi and pours fresh milk into it. The milk is warm and comforting, and each sip fills her with quiet happiness. They do not speak much. They do not need to. The silence between them feels gentle now, like a soft blanket instead of a heavy stone. After the meal, Heidi climbs the ladder to her little loft of hay. The scent of dried grass surrounds her, sweet and warm. She lies down and looks out through the small window above her bed, where the sky watches calmly through the night. The stars look bright and close, as if they are slowly breathing with the world. Yet somewhere beneath the peace of the evening, the house holds memories, old, buried, and quiet. Below her, the old man sits alone by the fire. The flames glow across his face, revealing lines carved by sorrow, anger, and loneliness. His eyes stare into the light, but his thoughts wander somewhere far away, to times he never speaks of. Outside, the wind rises for a moment and brushes against the wooden walls, as if the night itself is whispering. Heidi listens to the soft creaking of the house and the faint hum of the fire. She feels safe, but she also senses something unspoken, something the mountain keeps hidden inside the old man's heart. Sleep slowly carries her into dreams filled with rolling hills, drifting clouds, and the soft music of goat bells. But the old man does not sleep yet. He steps outside, and looks toward the dark valley far below. The lights of the village shimmer faintly like tiny stars scattered along the earth. His jaw tightens. Pain flickers in his eyes before he turns away and walks back inside. He closes the door, locks the night out, and locks his memories in. Up in the loft, Heidi turns in her sleep, unaware of the storm of silence beneath the stillness. Yet the mountain feels it. And soon, the world below, with its gossip, its worries, and its restless voices, will begin to rise toward the quiet house on the slope, bringing questions, doubts, and a change that neither the old man nor the little girl can avoid. What will happen when the voices from the valley climb the mountain? And what truths will they awaken in the shadows of the wooden house? Chapter 4. Morning light spills softly across the mountainside, painting the grass with warm gold. The air feels crisp and bright, and the sky stretches wide and clear above the wooden house. Heidi wakes with a smile, the scent of hay still wrapped around her like a soft dream. She slides from her loft, climbs down the ladder, and lands lightly on the wooden floor. The old man is already awake. He stands near the open door, his broad shoulders still and silent as he looks out across the slope. The wind brushes past him, carrying the distant murmur of sounds from far below, faint voices rising slowly from the valley. For a moment, his expression hardens. He knows those voices. Heidi steps to his side and peers past him. Down the narrow path, two villagers climb steadily upward, one with a stiff walk and serious eyes, the other with a softer face but a worried look. Their clothes flutter in the breeze, and their footsteps crunch against the stone path. The mountain, which had been silent and peaceful, now feels watchful. The visitors stop near the house and greet the old man with careful words. They speak politely, but their voices tremble with unease. They say they have heard rumors. A child now lives here alone with him, high on the slope, far from school, far from others, far from the life they believe she should have. Their words fall like stones. They ask questions he does not wish to answer. They speak of rules, expectations, and whispers in the valley. They speak as if the mountain itself is wrong for holding a child in its arms. The old man stands tall, his face stern, his eyes cold as winter rock. His voice is calm, but it carries strength like thunder hidden behind clouds. He says the child is safe. He says she is cared for. He says the mountain gives her what no crowded street or tight room ever could. Yet the visitors push further. They hint at decisions that may be made without him, by people who have never climbed the steep path, who have never felt the wind here, who have never seen the glow in Heidi's eyes when the sun touches the grass. Heidi watches, quiet and still. She does not understand every word, but she feels the tension in the air, the old man's guarded strength, the stranger's uneasy doubt. The wind circles around them, carrying the faint distant echo of goat bells, as if the mountain wants to remind them of its presence. At last, the visitors leave, stepping back down the path with voices hushed and uncertain. The sound of their footsteps fades slowly into the valley. Silence returns. But it is no longer the same silence. Heidi turns to the old man. His jaw is tight, his hands clenched, his eyes fixed on the far hills. For a moment he looks as if he stands alone against the entire world below, against the gossip, the judgment, the past that still follows him like a shadow. He breathes deeply. He does not speak. Instead, he turns and begins his work, chopping wood with sharp, powerful strikes. Each blow echoes across the slope like a distant drum, firm and unyielding. Heidi sits near the house and watches the sky, the meadow, the distant peaks glowing softly in the light. She feels both peace and uncertainty, like standing at the edge of a calm lake while storm clouds gather far away. The mountain around them remains beautiful, strong, timeless. But somewhere in the valley, voices continue to stir. And soon, one of those voices will rise louder than the rest, a voice from Heidi's old life, carrying news, plans, and a decision that will change the course of everything she has come to love on the mountain. Who is already on their way up the path? And what choice will they force upon the quiet world of the wooden house beneath the open sky? Chapter 5. The day drifts softly across the mountain, and the sun climbs slowly toward its highest place in the sky. The air feels warm and bright, and the grass shimmers gently in the light. The goats graze on the slope, their bells chiming like tiny silver echoes across the hillside. Heidi plays nearby, weaving little crowns from wildflowers and laughing as the wind tries to carry them away. The old man works in silence, mending a fence near the house. His movements are steady, his face calm, yet a quiet heaviness rests behind his eyes, a shadow left by the visit from the valley earlier that morning. For a while, the world feels peaceful again. Then, far below on the narrow path, a single figure begins to climb. At first, the shape is small and distant, like a moving speck among rocks and grass. But slowly, step by steady step, it grows clearer. A woman walks upward with determined strides, her clothes neat, her posture stiff, her eyes fixed sharply on the slope ahead. The old man notices first. His shoulders tense. He recognizes her. Heidi does not at once. She only sees a stranger climbing slowly toward the house, the sun glinting faintly across the woman's hair. But as the figure draws nearer, the air around them seems to tighten, as if the mountain itself is holding its breath. The woman reaches the flat ground beside the house and stops. Dust clings to her shoes, and her face carries a mix of confidence and hidden guilt. Her voice is smooth but guarded as she greets the old man. It is Heidi's aunt, the one who once brought the child here, and left. Her eyes move to Heidi. For a brief moment, something soft flickers there, surprise at how bright and happy the girl looks, how freely she moves across the grass, how deeply the mountain has claimed her heart. Then the softness fades. Her words grow firm. She speaks of new plans, of opportunities in a faraway city, of a grand house where Heidi is expected to live. She explains that the child is wanted there, needed there, and that this quiet mountain life is not enough for her future. The words fall cold upon the air. The old man lifts his gaze slowly. His eyes harden like stone. His voice remains calm, but beneath it runs a deep, unspoken warning. He reminds her that she left the child here because she could not care for her, that only the mountain has given her safety, warmth, and a home. The aunt does not waver. She smiles tightly, as if she is already certain of victory. She speaks of promises, opportunities, duty, and people of importance waiting below. Heidi stands between them, silent and confused. The wind moves through her hair. The bells echo softly on the meadow. The mountain watches. Something inside her begins to tremble. Not from fear of the aunt, but from the thought of leaving. Leaving the high meadow. Leaving Peter and the goats. Leaving the warm wooden house, the gentle silence, the drifting clouds. Leaving the old man. The aunt crouches and calls her name softly, her voice wrapped in coaxing sweetness. She speaks of pretty clothes, bright rooms, and wonderful things that sound strange and distant, like stories from another world. Heidi's heart pulls in two directions at once. The old man says nothing now. He turns his face slightly away, so no one can see what burns behind his eyes. A storm of memories, anger, love, and fear that the world below may take the child who brought light back into his silence. The aunt rises and says she will return soon. And when she does, Heidi must go with her. She turns and walks slowly down the mountain again, her footsteps fading along the winding path. The air grows still. The sky feels wider yet heavier. The goats graze quietly, as if sensing the change. Peter's laughter echoes faintly from somewhere above, unaware of the trouble forming below. Heidi sits in the grass, hugging her knees to her chest, her eyes fixed on the path where her aunt disappeared. She does not cry, not yet. The feeling inside her is too new, too deep, too unclear. The old man stands near the doorway, his silhouette outlined against the bright sky. He does not speak. But the silence between them says everything. And far beyond the mountain grass, the world of the city waits, bright, distant, and unknown, ready to pull Heidi away from the only place where her heart has truly learned to breathe. When the aunt returns, will the mountain be strong enough to hold her, or will the wind carry Heidi far from the slopes she loves? Chapter 6. The sun rises slowly over the mountain, but its warmth feels different now. The light touches the grass and the stones, yet the air carries a quiet heaviness, as if the wind itself does not know whether to move or stay still. The wooden house stands silent on the slope, watching the valley below like a lonely guardian. Heidi wakes in her little loft of hay. For a moment she forgets. She stretches, smiles softly, and listens to the faint music of goat bells drifting through the morning air. But then the memory returns, the footsteps on the path, the firm voice, the promise that soon she must leave. Her smile fades. She climbs down the ladder slowly, her bare feet quiet against the wooden floor. The old man sits by the table, his face calm but distant, his eyes deep and unreadable like the shadows beneath the tall pines. He places a bowl of warm milk before her without a word. Heidi sits and eats in silence. The room feels different, not cold, not unkind, but filled with something unspoken. The fire crackles softly, yet its sound seems small in the stillness. Outside, Peter calls from the meadow. The goats wait. The day must continue, even when hearts feel heavy. Heidi joins Peter on the path. He walks beside her with his usual light steps, but soon he notices the sadness in her eyes. His laughter fades. He asks what is wrong, his voice low and uncertain. She tells him. The words come slowly, like drops of rain falling from a heavy cloud. She explains about the aunt, the city, the strange house far away, the promise that she must leave the mountain and everything she loves. Peter stops walking. For a moment he says nothing. The goats move ahead, bells chiming gently, unaware of the storm forming inside two small, fragile hearts. Peter's face tightens. He looks toward the valley with narrowed eyes, as if he wishes he could push it away with nothing but anger and will. He mutters that the city does not belong to Heidi, that the mountain is her true place, that no one should take her from it. But his words fall softly into the wind. They reach the high meadow, yet the joy that once lived there feels quieter now. The flowers still glow beneath the bright sky. The breeze still moves through the grass. The clouds still drift slowly above them, but everything feels distant, fragile, uncertain. Heidi sits on the warm ground and presses her hands into the earth, as if trying to hold the mountain in her palms. She listens to the wind and wonders whether it will remember her if she leaves. Whether the goats will look for her. Whether the old man will sit alone again in the silence she once filled. Peter lies beside her, staring at the sky without speaking. The world around them is full of life, yet neither of them feels its brightness. Hours pass softly. The sun begins to sink. They walk down the slope again, their steps slow, their hearts heavy. When Heidi reaches the house, the sky has turned a soft, golden glow. The old man stands near the doorway, his back straight, his eyes lifted toward the horizon. He does not look at her right away. At last he speaks. His voice is calm, but beneath it lies a deep and silent storm. He tells her that soon the ant will return, and that the world below has already decided what must happen. He does not say how much it hurts him. He does not say how deeply he fears losing her. He simply says that when the time comes, she must be brave. Heidi presses closer to him, her small hand resting against his rough, weathered fingers. He does not pull away. For a brief moment, the silence between them feels full of unspoken love, full of quiet sorrow, full of everything neither of them knows how to say aloud. Night spreads across the mountain. The stars appear one by one, bright and fragile against the dark sky. Heidi lies in her loft, staring through the small window at the endless sky above the peaks. The wind drifts softly through the wooden walls, no longer singing, only whispering. Down below, the valley glows faintly in the darkness. And somewhere among those distant lights, her aunt is already preparing to climb the path again, carrying with her the promise of a journey that will pull Heidi far from the place where her heart has learned to belong. When the morning comes and the footsteps return, will Heidi's world break apart, or will the mountains still find a way to speak for the child it has claimed as its own? Chapter 7. Morning arrives without joy. The sky is pale and quiet, as if the clouds themselves feel heavy with sadness. A cool breeze moves slowly across the grass, carrying with it a stillness that settles over the wooden house and the wide mountain slope. The world feels calm, but not peaceful. Heidi wakes before the sun is fully risen. She lies in her soft bed of hay and listens to the faint whisper of wind against the roof. For a moment she hopes that the day will pass like the others, that nothing will change, that footsteps will not come climbing up the path. But deep inside her, she already knows. Change is coming. She climbs down the ladder slowly. The old man sits at the table, his hands resting still beside a simple wooden cup. His face looks calm, but his eyes are distant, as if they are staring into a place far beyond the walls of the house, a place filled with memories he wishes he could forget. Heidi sits across from him. They share breakfast in silence. No words seem strong enough to hold what they feel. Outside, the morning light spreads across the slope. The goats graze nearby, unaware of what this day will take away. The air smells of pine and earth, and far below, the valley waits, quiet, patient, certain. Then, from the path, footsteps. Slow, steady, unavoidable. Heidi's heart trembles. The old man closes his eyes for a brief, fragile moment. When he opens them again, they hold both strength and sorrow, like a storm trapped behind stone. The ant appears at the top of the path, her clothes neat, her posture firm, her expression full of confidence and restlessness. She does not pause to admire the mountain. She does not look at the flowers or the sky. Her eyes go straight to Heidi. She smiles, but the smile does not reach her heart. She speaks quickly, her words smooth and bright, full of promise and plans. She talks about the city, about fine rooms and important people, about lessons and futures and worlds that feel far away from wind and grass and open sky. Heidi listens quietly. Her hands curl at her sides. She looks once toward the old man. For a moment, time stops. Their eyes meet, small child, lonely mountain soul, and in that single glance lives every shared meal, every quiet evening by the fire, every warm laugh beneath the sky, every step taken together through the silence. No words pass between them. They do not need them. The ant takes Heidi's little bundle of clothes. She speaks again, firmer now, urging, pressing, insisting that it is time. Heidi swallows hard. Her heart aches. She walks to the old man. Slowly. Carefully. As if each step might break the world beneath her feet. She reaches out and places her small hand against his rough, weathered arm. For a breath, he does not move. Then his hand lifts, heavy, trembling, gentle. He rests it on her shoulder. The air around them fills with quiet. He tells her, in a low, steady voice, that wherever she goes, she must remember the mountain, the sky, the light, the kindness inside her own heart. He tells her that the world may be wide and strange, but she is strong enough to walk through it. His words are few, but they hold an entire world. Heidi nods, though tears press behind her eyes. She does not cry. Not yet. The ant takes her hand. They begin to walk down the path. The goats watch from the slope. The wind grows still. Peter appears in the distance, running toward them, his face pale, his breath short, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He calls out, his voice breaking across the hillside like a cracked bell. Heidi turns, just for a moment. Their eyes meet. He does not know what to say. He does not know how to stop what is already happening. The path pulls her farther down the mountain. The house grows smaller. The meadow fades. The sky stretches above them, wide, beautiful, heartbreaking. The old man stands alone beside the wooden house, his figure still and silent against the bright air. The wind begins to move again, softly brushing across the grass, as if the mountain itself is mourning. Downward. Step by step. The world she loves drifts farther away. The valley rises to meet her. The city waits beyond it, distant, unknown, full of walls and shadows she cannot yet imagine. And somewhere deep inside the mountain, a silence opens. A silence where laughter once lived. A silence that will not easily be filled again. What awaits Heidi in the faraway city, and how will her bright spirit survive in a world without wind, meadow, and sky? Chapter 8. The path winds down from the mountain, leaving behind the wide sky and the whispering grass. The air grows heavier, the wind fades, and the scent of pines slowly disappears. Heidi walks beside her aunt through fields, across bridges, and along busy roads where wheels rattle and voices echo. Soon the mountains no longer rise above them. Instead, tall houses stand shoulder to shoulder, pressing close together like silent watchers. The streets feel narrow, and the sky looks small, just a thin strip of pale blue caught between rooftops and chimneys. The air carries the smell of stone, dust, and smoke. Heidi's heart whispers for the meadow. But the city does not listen. Her aunt leads her to a grand house with high walls, smooth steps, and heavy doors that seem to swallow every sound. Inside, the halls stretch long and quiet, filled with polished floors, tall mirrors, and curtains that block the light. Every footstep echoes like a small sigh. A stern woman appears, tall, serious, and wrapped in strictness like cold iron beneath dark cloth. Her eyes study Heidi carefully, as if weighing her against invisible expectations. She speaks in a sharp, precise voice, explaining rules, routines, and duties that sound unfamiliar and distant, like a language spoken by a world of shadows. Heidi nods politely, though she understands very little. She is brought to a quiet room filled with books, soft carpets, and a wide window that looks out toward sky, but only a small piece of it, trapped behind rooftops and chimneys. There, in a large chair, sits a pale girl with gentle eyes and soft, curious hands folded neatly in her lap. Her name is Clara. Her legs rest motionless beneath a blanket, and her smile holds both warmth and longing. When she speaks, her voice is calm and kind, shaped by loneliness and gentle hope. Heidi steps forward, shy at first, then curious, then open. A spark passes between them, not loud, not bright, but warm like the first light of dawn. Clara listens as Heidi speaks about the mountains, about green slopes and drifting clouds, about the song of wind and the dance of wildflowers, about goat bells echoing like silver laughter through the air. With every word, Clara's eyes grow brighter, as if the meadow itself has found a way into the quiet room. For the first time in a long while, she smiles. Yet when evening falls, the house grows still. Heavy silence fills the halls. The sky beyond the window darkens, pressing down on the city like a giant curtain. Heidi lies awake, missing the rustle of grass, the breath of wind, the open world where stars shine wide and free. Here, the stars feel far away, trapped behind stone and shadow. Nights become lonely. The city offers no meadow to run across, no sunlit hill to rest upon, no mountain to hold her in its arms. Even Clara's kindness cannot chase away the feeling that something deep inside Heidi is slowly dimming, like a candle burning in a room without air. Days pass. Lessons, routines, polite voices, all carefully arranged, all perfectly quiet. But Heidi's heart beats for the mountain. And sometimes, when no one is watching, she presses her face to the window and whispers to the distant sky, as if calling to wind, meadow, and home. Far away, beyond stone streets and rooftops, the mountain listens. And somewhere in its silent heart, a voice begins to stir, a voice that will not forget the child who once laughed beneath its sky. How long can Heidi's spirit endure this world of narrow windows? And what hidden change is already forming within the quiet shadows of the great city house? Chapter 9. Days in the great city house begin to flow quietly, one into another, like slow-moving shadows across a wall. Morning brings careful voices, polished tables, and tall windows that let in only a thin slice of light. The air inside feels still, as if every sound must tiptoe. Heidi tries to be cheerful. She listens to Clara's stories, laughs softly when the girl smiles, and moves gently through the rooms like a small beam of sunshine drifting through dust. Clara grows fond of her, and her eyes sparkle whenever Heidi speaks of the mountains, of golden hills, wandering goats, and clouds drifting freely across the sky. But when night comes, the loneliness returns. Heidi lies in a soft bed in a quiet room, wrapped in blankets that feel warm, but not alive. The walls press close around her. The air feels heavy. The darkness holds no sound of wind, no whispering grass, no distant bells. Instead, the silence feels deep and empty. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, she rises and walks softly to the window. She looks out at the rooftops and chimneys, where the sky is only a narrow ribbon of pale darkness. The stars seem faint and far away, like tiny lights hidden behind thick glass. Her heart aches gently. She presses her forehead against the cold window pane and imagines the mountain, the open sky, the wide slopes, the calm, quiet strength of the old wooden house. She imagines the old man sitting by the fire, the goats resting on the hillside, Peter guiding them with steady steps. She whispers their names into the night. But the city does not answer. Soon something strange begins to happen. Heidi's dreams grow heavy and tangled. When she closes her eyes, she wanders through long corridors and narrow streets that twist and turn without ending. She calls for the mountain, but the sound fades into silence. Sometimes she wakes with tears on her cheeks, though she does not remember why. Her smile grows quieter. Her footsteps slower. Even Clara notices. One afternoon, as the soft light filters through the curtains, Clara reaches for Heidi's hand. Her voice sounds gentle yet worried. She asks if something is wrong, if the city has placed a shadow across her heart. Heidi tries to reply with brightness, but the words tremble. She speaks of the mountain in a voice that sounds softer than before, as if the memory itself is fading like mist in sunlight. The strict woman of the house watches from the doorway, her sharp eyes thoughtful, uneasy, uncertain. At night, the shadows deepen. Heidi begins to move in her sleep, walking softly through the halls like a drifting dream. She opens doors without knowing, searches for something she cannot name, stands before windows as if expecting the wind to come through the glass. Her feet know where they wish to go, but the city holds them still. One night, a servant finds her standing silently in a long corridor, her eyes full of tears, her face pale beneath the dim light. She is awake, and yet not fully present, as though part of her has already begun wandering back toward the mountain. Whispers spread through the house. Worry grows. The strict woman speaks in low tones behind closed doors. Clara listens, frightened and helpless, her heart aching for the friend who once filled the rooms with warmth and light. Heidi, small and fragile, sits quietly by the window, her eyes distant, her spirit drifting somewhere far beyond the city walls. Her body remains in the grand house, but her heart is already on the path leading upward, toward wind, sky, and home. And somewhere high above the distant roofs, a silent mountain waits. What will the people in the great city house decide, and will anyone realize that Heidi's healing lies not within walls and windows, but in the open arms of the world she longs to return to? Chapter 10. The house grows quieter with each passing day, as if every wall has begun to listen. The servants walk softly, their eyes filled with worry. The strict woman moves through the halls with slower steps than before, her stern expression now touched by doubt and concern. Even the air feels still, holding its breath around the fragile child who sits so silently by the window. Heidi rests in a large chair, her hands folded gently in her lap. The light that falls across her face is pale and thin, like a distant memory of sunlight. She stares toward the narrow strip of sky above the rooftops, yet her gaze seems to reach far beyond it, toward a world the city cannot see. Clara watches her closely. Her heart aches. Where once Heidi's voice had danced through the room like birdsong, now it drifts softly, rarely, and only when necessary. Her smile has faded into something almost invisible, like a shadow left behind after the light has gone. The strict woman calls for a doctor, a serious man with calm eyes who listens carefully, asks questions, and studies Heidi with quiet concern. He observes the stillness in her body, the sadness in her gaze, the way her spirit seems to float somewhere far away. He listens more than he speaks. When he finishes, he stands beside the window, looking out at the narrow sky. His voice is gentle, thoughtful, and warmer than anyone expects. He says that there is nothing wrong with Heidi's body. It is her heart that is hurting. He explains that some spirits cannot live where the world is small, where the sky is caught between rooftops and the wind cannot reach the soul. He says that Heidi was taken from a place where her heart could breathe, and brought into a place where it slowly withers like a flower kept from light. Clara holds her breath. The strict woman frowns, yet her eyes soften with unease. The doctor says only one thing will heal the child. She must return to where she belongs. To the open air. To the wide grass. To the mountain. His words fill the room like a sudden ray of sunlight breaking through clouds. For a moment, everything stands still, the curtains, the dust in the air, even the beats of the two worried hearts watching Heidi from across the room. The strict woman hesitates. The city world is full of rules, expectations, plans, but none of them hold enough warmth to mend a breaking spirit. She looks at Heidi, then at Clara, then toward the window that refuses to open any wider. Slowly, she nods. A quiet decision settles over the house. Heidi will go home. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Soon. Clara's heart trembles, with relief, with sadness, with love. She smiles through misted eyes and squeezes Heidi's hand. Though the girl barely speaks, something gentle stirs inside her, like a faint breeze touching still water. For the first time in many days, her gaze softens. Hope flickers. Preparations begin quietly. Bags are gathered. Arrangements are made. The house breathes again, not loudly, but with a cautious softness, as if afraid to disturb the fragile light that has begun to return. Yet deep within Clara's heart, a question rises like a distant echo. If Heidi goes back to the mountain, what will remain in the great city house? And will their friendship, woven through quiet rooms and whispered dreams, survive the distance between stone streets and open sky? The carriage waits. The city watches. The mountain, far away, feels the first tremor of change in the wind. What will Heidi feel when she begins the journey home? And how will the mountain greet the child who returns with both joy and lingering sorrow in her heart? Chapter 11. The morning of departure arrives softly, like a cautious breath. The great city house stands quiet, its halls filled with silence instead of echoing footsteps. Curtains rest still beside tall windows, and every room seems to listen as if it, too, understands that something precious is about to leave. Heidi stands near the door with a small bundle in her hands. Her eyes look brighter than they have in many days, not lively yet, but awake, like a tiny flame finding its strength again. The strict woman watches her with a solemn expression, one that now carries warmth beneath its firmness. Clara waits in her chair, hands trembling gently in her lap. She tries to smile. It is a soft smile, made of love and courage and hidden tears. Heidi walks to her and kneels beside the chair. Their fingers meet and hold, small hand, delicate hand, and the moment fills the room with quiet emotion. Neither girl needs to speak at first. The silence between them is full of memories, shared laughter, whispered stories, dreams of mountains and sky. At last, Clara whispers that she will miss her. Her voice shakes. She says that the house will feel empty without Heidi's presence, without the warmth she brought like sunlight to a dim and airless room. But she also says something braver, that she is happy Heidi will return to the place where her heart can breathe again. Heidi presses her cheek against Clara's hand. For a moment, the city melts away, and only friendship remains. The strict woman steps forward. Her voice is calm and gentle as she promises Clara that this is not the end. She speaks of visits, letters, hopes, and possibilities still waiting somewhere ahead. She says that sometimes, love must let go so that the heart may heal. The carriage waits outside. The door opens. The sky, though narrow between rooftops, seems to stretch a little wider than before. Heidi is guided to the carriage, and as she climbs inside, she turns back one last time. Clara watches from the doorway, her eyes bright with tears that do not fall. She lifts her hand in a small, brave farewell. Heidi lifts hers in return. The carriage begins to move. Stone streets roll beneath the wheels. Houses slide past in quiet rows. The city slowly loosens its grip, giving way to roads that stretch farther and farther from noise and shadow. With every mile, the air grows lighter. The sky grows wider. The wind returns. Heidi leans toward the window, watching fields open like wide, green blankets across the land. Hills rise gently, then grow taller, stronger, prouder. The scent of earth and grass fills her lungs, and her heart beats with new life, as if a door inside her has finally opened. At last, the mountains appear. Grand. Silent. Welcoming. Their peaks shine beneath drifting clouds, and the world around them glows with a calm, timeless strength. The road winds upward again, familiar and full of memory. Heidi presses her hands to the glass, her eyes bright, her breath trembling with joy. The carriage stops at the foot of the slope. The rest of the way must be walked. Heidi steps out. The wind greets her like an old friend, brushing gently against her face, lifting her hair, carrying with it the scent of pine, stone, and freedom. The grass bends softly beneath her feet. The path stretches upward, the same path she once climbed as a small, curious child. But now, she climbs it with a heart that has known sorrow, distance, and longing, and has found its way home again. Each step fills her with warmth. Each breath feels like a promise. Above, the wooden house waits on the mountainside, quiet and steady beneath the endless sky. And somewhere near it, an old man stands in silence, unaware that the wind has already begun to whisper her return. What will happen when Heidi reaches the top of the path? And how will the mountain's silence change when the child who once brought light returns to its open, waiting arms? Chapter 12. The path rises gently beneath Heidi's feet, winding upward through soft grass and scattered stones. The wind moves around her like a familiar voice, carrying the scents of pine, sun-warmed earth, and distant meadows. Birds circle high above, their wings gliding through the open sky as if welcoming her home. With every step, the world grows brighter. With every breath, her heart feels lighter. The wooden house slowly comes into view on the mountainside, quiet, steady, unchanged, yet somehow filled with a quiet anticipation, as though it has been waiting too long for the sound of a child's footsteps to return. Heidi stops for a moment. Her eyes shine. The house stands bathed in sunlight, its rough wooden walls warm and calm, the little window glimmering softly. Smoke curls gently from the chimney, rising into the clear blue sky in a thin, peaceful thread. She takes another step. Then another. The air around her grows still. Near the doorway, the old man stands. His beard is silver in the light, his shoulders broad and strong, his eyes deep and watchful like the shadows beneath ancient rocks. For a heartbeat, he does not move. He stares as if the world itself has paused, as if he cannot trust what he sees. Heidi's lips tremble into a smile. "Grandfather," she whispers. The word travels across the space between them like sunlight breaking through clouds. The old man takes a single, unsteady step forward. Then another. Something fierce and fragile rises in his eyes, a storm of sorrow and relief, fear and hope, loneliness and love, all the feelings he locked away when silence became his only companion. He stops in front of her. Neither speaks. They simply stand together in the open air, the mountain wrapped around them like a great, living heart. At last his hand lifts, slow, gentle, trembling slightly, and rests on her shoulder. The touch is warm, real, unmistakable. He breathes deeply, as if he has been holding his breath since the day she left. She smiles wider. The silence between them is no longer empty. It is full. Full of everything that words cannot hold. He leads her inside the house. Nothing has changed. The strong wooden table, the warm fire, the scent of bread and wood smoke drifting through the air. Yet the room feels different now, brighter, as though the walls themselves have begun to glow with quiet happiness. Heidi climbs the ladder to her little loft. The hay is soft. The window opens to the sky. She presses her hand into the bedding and laughs softly, a bright, gentle sound that fills the house like returning light. Down below, the old man listens. His eyes close for a moment. For the first time in a long, long while, the house feels alive again. That evening, the sun sinks slowly behind the distant peaks, painting the mountain in deep gold and warm rose. Heidi sits outside in the grass, watching the colors melt across the sky. The wind plays softly through her hair, and the goats graze quietly nearby. The old man sits beside her. No words are needed. The mountain breathes with them. Yet somewhere in the distance, the valley glows with faint lights, and the world below continues to turn. New paths are forming. New lives are waiting. And far away, in the great city house, a lonely window looks out at the narrow sky, where a girl named Clara thinks of mountains, of wind, of friendship, and of a promise that has not yet found its way home. What change will the mountain bring next, and how will a distant heart, still longing for open air, find its path toward the world that healed Heidi's own? Chapter 13. The days on the mountain begin to glow again, soft and bright like morning light resting across the grass. Each dawn brings clear air, drifting clouds, and the gentle music of goat bells echoing up the slope. Heidi's laughter returns to the wooden house, filling it with warmth the way the fire fills it with light. The old man watches her closely. Not with fear this time, but with quiet gratitude. He walks with steadier steps, works with lighter hands, and speaks more often than before, though his words are still few, shaped carefully, like stones set thoughtfully into a small wall. When he smiles, the mountain seems to smile with him. One afternoon, Heidi walks down the winding path toward the valley. The sun rests gently over the fields, and the air carries a faint sweetness of grass and distant flowers. She follows the road to a small, humble house tucked near the hillside, a place worn by time but held together by care. Inside lives the grandmother. Her hair is white and soft like mountain snow, her hands thin and gentle, her face marked with years of patience and quiet courage. Though her eyes no longer see the world, her voice holds warmth and strength, like a steady fire glowing in the darkest winter night. When Heidi enters, the grandmother lifts her head. A smile spreads slowly across her face, a smile made not of sight, but of love. She reaches out, and Heidi takes her hands. Their fingers meet warmly. The house smells of old wood and bread baked long ago. Every sound feels close: the creak of the floor, the whisper of wind through the cracks, the faint song of birds outside the window. The grandmother listens as Heidi speaks of the mountain, the sky, the goats, the sunlight, and the joy of finally being home again. Her voice glows with happiness. The grandmother listens in silence. Then she laughs softly, a sound filled with relief, as if her heart has been waiting for news of Heidi's return, like a traveler waiting at a quiet road for a friend who stayed away too long. Heidi notices the empty shelf near the wall, the worn table, the small supply of bread that is almost gone. A gentle sadness touches her heart. The grandmother speaks softly, not with complaint, but with calm truth, about days when food is scarce, when the cold presses hard, when the world feels small and distant. Heidi listens. Her hands tighten gently around the grandmother's fingers, as if trying to share her own warmth. Something awakens inside her. A promise. A quiet wish to help. When she returns to the mountain, she tells the old man about the grandmother, her kindness, her strength, her struggle. The old man listens silently, his eyes deep and thoughtful. He does not answer at once. But later, he leaves the house and walks down the path alone. When he returns, his arms carry fresh bread. Warm, golden, fragrant. He places it on the table, says nothing, but his eyes speak. Heidi smiles so brightly the room seems to fill with sunlight. The next morning, the grandmother holds the warm loaf in her trembling hands. She breathes in its soft scent, and tears rise gently in her sightless eyes, not of sorrow, but of gratitude. The small house feels full again. Full of kindness. Full of hope. Full of quiet light. Heidi realizes something beautiful, that the mountain not only gives strength, it can also give love that travels from one heart to another, like sunlight moving across hills and valleys. Yet even as peace settles across the slope, a faint echo trembles far away. A memory of narrow windows. A still chair. A gentle girl whose eyes once filled with light when Heidi spoke of drifting clouds and open fields. Clara. Somewhere in the distant city, she sits quietly, thinking of mountains she has never walked, and of a friendship that still calls to her like a faraway bell in the wind. What path will rise between city and mountain? And how will the longing in Clara's heart shape the next great change that waits silently beyond the horizon? Chapter 14. The mountain glows beneath the morning sun, its slopes wrapped in soft gold and quiet warmth. The air feels clear and bright, and the sky stretches wide above the wooden house. Heidi and the old man sit outside as the goats graze peacefully nearby, their bells chiming like tiny echoes across the hills. The day feels calm, still, content. Then, from the path below, footsteps rise toward the slope, careful, deliberate, unfamiliar. A man appears, dressed neatly, carrying something close beneath his arm. He greets the old man with respectful words and turns to Heidi with a kind smile. He has brought a letter. He places it gently in the old man's weathered hands. The envelope is smooth and pale, the writing delicate and thoughtful. The air seems to grow quieter as the old man breaks the seal and unfolds the paper. His eyes move slowly across the lines, and a faint change passes through his expression, not sorrow, not fear, but something deep and thoughtful. Heidi watches, her heart filled with curiosity. At last, the old man lifts his gaze to her. The letter is from the great city house. From Clara. Her words speak softly from the page, words of friendship, longing, and gentle hope. She writes of her quiet days, of rooms still filled with silence, of windows that open to narrow sky. She writes of how she thinks of Heidi often, of the mountain, the meadow, the drifting clouds she has never seen with her own eyes. But more than that, she writes of a wish, a dream that has grown quietly inside her heart. She wants to visit the mountain, to breathe its air, to feel its sunlight, to stand, if only for a moment, in the place that brought Heidi back to life. The old man remains silent for a long time. His eyes travel across the letter once more, then out toward the wide horizon, toward peaks rising strong and bright beneath the sky. He knows the journey will not be easy. He knows the world below is full of doubts, opinions, and careful worries, especially for a child whose body does not walk as others do. But he also knows something else. The mountain holds a strength deeper than fear. He sets the letter gently on the table. Heidi's heart trembles with joy and wonder. Images fill her mind: Clara among the flowers, Clara beneath the open sky, Clara hearing the music of goats and wind instead of distant echoes in shaded rooms. She clasps her hands together. The thought shines inside her like warm light. The old man nods slowly. Not yes. Not no. But something like a door in his heart beginning to open. He sends a reply, brief, careful, honest, saying that the mountain stands ready, if Clara truly wishes to come. Days pass. The wind carries whispers across the slope. Life continues gently, goats on the hillside, bread shared with the grandmother, evenings of quiet warmth beside the fire. Yet beneath it all runs a steady, growing anticipation, like the tremor of earth before a distant sound reaches the ear. Then one morning, another letter arrives. Short. Hopeful. Certain. Clara is coming. Heidi presses the page to her chest, and joy floods through her like sunlight pouring into a darkened room. The old man watches her, and though his face remains calm, a soft warmth glows quietly behind his eyes. Far away, beyond fields and roads and valleys, a carriage begins its journey. Inside sits a pale girl with bright, determined eyes, and a heart that longs for sky. The mountain waits. The wind listens. And the world stands at the edge of a moment, that will change not only one life, but two. When Clara arrives beneath the wide blue sky, what new strength will awaken, and what hidden miracle might the mountain still hold within its silent heart? Chapter 15. The morning air feels fresh and bright, carrying the soft scent of grass and wildflowers across the mountainside. The sky stretches wide and calm above the wooden house, and the distant peaks shimmer gently in the warm light. Heidi stands at the edge of the slope, her hands clasped with quiet excitement, her eyes fixed on the winding path below. Today is the day. Far in the distance, a carriage moves slowly along the narrow road that climbs toward the mountain. Its wheels turn carefully over stones and earth, rising higher step by patient step. The sound of hooves echoes faintly through the air, like a distant heartbeat growing slowly closer. The old man stands near the doorway, silent and watchful. His face is calm, but his eyes hold a steady attention, wary, thoughtful, yet open to whatever the day may bring. The wind drifts across the slope, wrapping the house, the path, and the meadow in gentle expectation. The carriage draws nearer. At last it stops at the foot of the grassy rise near the house. A servant steps down first, then carefully lifts out a delicate figure wrapped in soft cloth and quiet determination. Her pale face turns toward the wide sky, and her eyes fill with wonder before a single word is spoken. It is Clara. For a long moment she simply looks. At the rolling fields. At the towering peaks. At the drifting clouds that move freely through endless blue. Her lips part in awe. She has never seen a world so open, so alive, so full of breath. Heidi runs to her, joy lighting every part of her face. She takes Clara's hands, warm and gentle, and the two girls smile as if a long-lost piece of the world has finally returned to its rightful place. No city walls or silent halls stand between them now, only wind, meadow, and sky. The old man steps forward. He greets Clara with quiet respect, his voice deep yet kind. She answers softly, her tone filled with both gratitude and nervous hope. The mountain air feels new to her lungs, light yet powerful, and the ground beneath her chair seems alive beneath the wheels. The goats wander near, curious and shy. Their bells ring softly, as though they sense the importance of this moment. Heidi laughs gently and introduces each one as if welcoming old friends into a new story. Clara's eyes shine with delight, her heart opening wider with every sound, every color, every breath of mountain air. The day moves slowly and gently. Heidi shows Clara the meadow, the flowers, the path that leads upward toward the high fields. The sun rests warm upon their faces, and the wind carries laughter across the slopes. The old man watches quietly from nearby, his gaze steady, thoughtful, protective, yet somehow hopeful. As the afternoon deepens, Clara asks something softly. Her voice trembles with courage. She wishes to try, not to walk far, not to climb, not to rush, only to stand. Just for a moment. Just to feel the earth beneath her feet instead of beneath the wheels of her chair. The mountain grows still. The wind hushes. The world seems to wait. The old man steps closer, steady as stone. Heidi stands beside Clara, her hands warm and sure. Together, gently, slowly, patiently, they help her rise. Her legs tremble. Her heart races. The earth feels strange beneath her, solid and living, as if the mountain itself has reached up to hold her. She grips Heidi's hands, breath shaking softly, eyes shining with both fear and hope. And then, she stands. Not long. Not far. But truly. Clara's lips tremble into a smile, fragile, radiant, unbelieving. Heidi laughs through tears that sparkle like small drops of light in the sun. The old man lowers his head for a brief moment, and something deep and silent softens in his eyes, Not surprise, not disbelief, but quiet faith. The wind rises gently. Not loud. Not fierce. Only warm. As if the mountain itself is welcoming her. Evening begins to fall, painting the sky in soft gold and rose. Clara sits once more, tired but glowing with new strength, new hope, new possibility. She looks toward the distant peaks, and no longer sees a world out of reach. She sees a path. A beginning. A promise. But somewhere beyond the meadow, beyond the valley, far out where the roads disappear into distance, another presence stirs, unseen, uncertain, carrying questions and doubts that may yet challenge the fragile hope blooming on the mountain. Who watches this new beginning from afar, and what unseen test awaits the fragile strength that has only just awakened beneath the open sky? Chapter 16. Morning rises softly over the slopes, lighting the grass with gentle gold. Dew sparkles across the meadow like tiny stars resting close to the earth, and a faint breeze moves through the flowers, carrying the fresh scent of pine and sky. The world feels quiet, not with silence, but with calm anticipation. Clara sits in her chair near the wooden house, wrapped in a warm shawl. Her eyes glow with a light that was not there before, a light born from courage, from hope, from the memory of that single trembling moment when her feet touched the ground and the mountain held her. Heidi kneels beside her, excited and gentle all at once. Her smile shines as brightly as the morning sun, and her voice carries warmth like drifting birdsong. The old man stands nearby, watchful and steady, his presence strong as the rock beneath the mountain grass. Today, Clara wishes to try again. Not to prove anything. Not to impress anyone. But to feel alive. The wind hushes softly, as if the mountain is listening. Heidi takes Clara's hands. Slowly, carefully, lovingly, she helps her rise. Clara's legs tremble, yet her spirit does not. The earth feels firm and real beneath her feet, and her breath quickens with both fear and wonder. Her fingers tighten gently around Heidi's hands, not in desperation, but in trust. The old man steps closer. His voice is calm and deep, guiding, steadying, encouraging without forcing. Step by tiny step, Clara shifts her weight. The world grows still. The goats pause on the hillside. Even the clouds seem to drift slower across the sky. And then, she takes a step. Just one. Small. Delicate. Miraculous. Her face fills with light. Heidi laughs with joy, her heart soaring like a bird lifting into the air. The old man lowers his head for a moment, and the faintest hint of a smile appears beneath his beard, a smile that carries years of sorrow and hope rising together into quiet peace. Clara takes another step. And another. The breeze lifts gently, touching her hair, brushing across her cheeks as though the mountain itself is guiding her forward. She walks only a short distance, only enough for the heart to believe what it once feared impossible. When she sits again, she does not feel weak. She feels strong. Not strong in her legs, but strong in her soul. The day unfolds in gentle happiness. The girls talk softly, laugh lightly, and watch the goats wander through the bright meadow. The old man brings bread and fresh milk, and the air fills with warmth and simple comfort. Later, as the sun lowers and paints the sky in warm gold, Clara looks toward the distant ridge. Her eyes shine with wonder, and something deeper. Gratitude. Hope. Belonging. She whispers that the mountain has given her more than strength. It has given her courage to believe in herself. Heidi smiles, knowing the truth in those words. But as evening falls, a faint sound rises from the far path, the distant roll of wheels, the rhythm of hooves, a cautious presence climbing slowly toward the slope. The old man hears it first. His expression grows thoughtful. perhaps even wary. Someone is coming. Someone from the world below. Someone who does not yet understand what the mountain has already begun to give. Clara turns toward the sound. Her heart beats faster. The wind quiets once more, as if waiting. The moment feels fragile, bright, uncertain. Who approaches the mountain now, and will they see the miracle unfolding beneath the open sky, or try to pull it back into the shadows of the world below? Chapter 17. The sound rises slowly from the winding path below, the quiet roll of wheels, the steady beat of hooves, the faint rustle of cloth and leather. It grows clearer with every moment, drifting upward through the still air like a distant echo returning to the heart of the mountain. Clara listens, her hands folding softly in her lap. Heidi stands beside her, eyes fixed on the bend in the path. The old man remains near the doorway, his posture calm yet guarded, as if the mountain itself has placed him there, strong, steady, protective. The carriage appears. It climbs carefully over stone and grass until it stops near the wooden house. The door opens, and a tall man steps down, dignified, composed, wrapped in fine clothing and quiet authority. His face carries both worry and tenderness, like someone who has spent many long days searching for something he feared he might lose. It is Clara's father. He pauses. For a moment, the world around him disappears. His gaze moves to Clara, not to her chair, not to her weakness, not to the past that held her still, but to her eyes, bright with courage and new life beneath the open sky. He walks to her. The wind softens. Clara smiles, fragile, radiant, full of hope that trembles like a small flame in cupped hands. Her father kneels beside her, his voice warm yet shaking with emotion. He asks if she is well, if she is happy, if the mountain has treated her kindly. She laughs softly and tells him that here, the air feels alive, and so does she. Then, with a breath that feels as brave as the first step she ever took, she asks if she may try again. Right now. Here. Before his eyes. The world holds still. The old man stands close, silent guardian. Heidi takes Clara's hands, gentle and steady. The father watches, not with fear now, but with wonder he does not yet dare to believe in. Slowly, softly, Clara rises. Her legs tremble. Her breath quickens. The earth beneath her feet feels real and strong. She takes a step. Then another. The wind lifts gently across the meadow, carrying the faint sound of goat bells, like distant music blessing the moment. Clara walks a few small, precious steps across the grass, guided not by force, but by hope, by courage, by the quiet strength the mountain has placed inside her. When she sits again, her father's eyes shimmer with tears he does not hide. He reaches for her hand. He whispers her name, not with sorrow this time, but with awe. He looks toward the old man. Two worlds meet in that single glance, the world of city walls and careful doctors, and the world of open sky, wind, and silent courage. The old man nods once. Calm. Certain. The father bows his head in gratitude. For the first time, he understands. It was not treatment or medicine that awakened Clara's strength. It was freedom. It was the mountain. It was love. The day softens into evening, and the sky glows with rose and gold. They sit together in quiet peace, Clara, her father, Heidi, and the old man, sharing bread, stories, and the gentle warmth of a world that no longer feels divided. Yet as night approaches, a faint unease stirs in the father's heart. The city still waits. Its expectations. Its doubts. Its voices. He looks toward the valley, toward the roads that lead back to stone walls and shadowed halls, and wonders whether the world below will understand what the mountain has given, or try to take it away. The wind brushes softly through the grass, carrying both hope and uncertainty. The stars begin to appear. The mountain breathes. When the time comes to choose between the city and the sky, which path will Clara's future follow, and can the strength she found on the mountain survive beyond its quiet, open slopes? Chapter 18. The sun sinks slowly behind the high ridges, and the sky turns to soft shades of gold and violet. The meadow grows calm, the goats gather near the slope, and the wind moves gently across the grass as if it is carrying the last warm breaths of the day. Clara sits outside the wooden house, wrapped in a light shawl. Her cheeks glow softly, and her eyes shine with calm joy, the joy of strength discovered, of courage awakened, of hope now rooted like a young tree deep in the mountain soil. Her father stands a short distance away. He watches her quietly. Not as a fragile child to be protected, but as a brave soul learning to rise. Heidi sits beside Clara, her laughter light and warm, her presence steady and bright like a small flame in the evening air. The old man leans against the wooden wall of the house, his arms folded, his gaze turned toward the horizon, thoughtful, calm, and deep as the mountains themselves. Silence rests between them. A peaceful silence. But beneath it lies something else, a decision that has not yet been spoken. Clara's father walks slowly across the grass and sits near his daughter. The wind brushes through his hair, and for a moment, he simply listens, to the bells in the distance, to the whispering air, to the soft sound of Clara's gentle breathing. Then he speaks. His voice carries both strength and tenderness. He tells Clara that he has seen something here, something he never believed possible. Not a miracle born of magic, but a miracle born of courage, patience, and love. He tells her that the mountain has given her more than movement. It has given her spirit the freedom it once lost. Clara listens, tears shimmering gently in her eyes. She whispers that she no longer fears the future. Not here. Not beneath this sky. Not with wind in her lungs and strength in her heart. Her father nods. But the shadow of the city still lingers in his thoughts, its doctors, its opinions, its careful rules. He wonders aloud whether those voices will try to pull Clara back into rooms where windows are small and air stands still. The old man lifts his gaze. His voice is quiet, steady, simple, firm. He says that the mountain does not demand anything. It does not force. It only gives. And if Clara must one day return to the city, the strength she found here will not disappear. It will live inside her. Like sunlight carried in the heart. The wind moves gently through the grass. Clara reaches for her father's hand. She speaks softly, with new confidence, like a bird testing its wings for the first time. She says she wishes to stay for a while longer, to walk a little more, to grow a little stronger, not only in her body, but in her spirit. Her father closes his eyes. When he opens them again, they shine with quiet understanding. He agrees, not because he is convinced by reason, but because he has finally learned to listen to hope. Dinner is shared beside the house, bread, milk, and warmth beneath the dimming sky. Laughter rises softly, like gentle music floating through twilight air. The world feels full and peaceful, wrapped in the calm of evening light. Yet when night falls, Clara's father remains awake longer than the others. He steps outside, standing alone beneath the stars. The mountain stretches silently before him. He breathes deeply. For the first time in many years, his heart feels still. But deep inside, a question remains, a quiet, lingering echo that follows every breath. When the time comes to leave this mountain, will the world below be ready to accept the new life that has begun here? The wind answers softly. Not with words, but with promise. The stars glow above the peaks. The meadow sleeps. The mountain keeps its secrets, for now. What new strength will awaken in the days ahead, and what final test will the mountain place before Clara, Heidi, and the old man before their journeys find their true paths? Chapter 19. Morning returns like a soft promise, rising slowly over the peaks and spilling warm light across the meadow. The air feels fresh and clear, and the grass glitters with tiny drops of dew that shimmer like quiet stars resting near the earth. Clara sits near the wooden house, wrapped in the early sunlight. The breeze brushes softly against her face, carrying the scent of flowers and pine. Her father stands nearby, calm and thoughtful, while the old man waits a short distance away, watchful, steady, patient as stone. Heidi kneels beside Clara, her eyes bright with encouragement. Today, Clara wants to try more. Not because anyone asks her to. Not because she feels pressured. But because something inside her has awakened, a brave, gentle strength that whispers that she can go farther than before. The mountain seems to listen. The meadow grows quiet. The goats pause on the hillside, bells chiming softly in the silence. Heidi takes Clara's hands. The old man steps closer, strong and ready to guide. Clara breathes deeply. Slowly, carefully, she rises. Her legs tremble, but her spirit does not. She takes one step. Then another. The earth beneath her feels firm and real, alive and welcoming beneath every touch of her feet. Her movements are small, but filled with courage. The breeze lifts gently, as if cheering her on. The hill ahead slopes upward, not steep, not far, but higher than anywhere she has walked before. It waits quietly, like a small challenge placed softly before her. Clara looks at it. Her heart beats fast. But she nods. She wishes to try. They begin together, Heidi at her side, the old man steady behind, her father watching with hope rising in his chest like a bird lifting into the sky. Clara takes a step. The hill rises. She takes another. Her breath trembles. Her legs strain. But her eyes shine. She is not walking only across the grass. She is walking through fear. Through doubt. Through all the quiet sadness of the past. The hill grows steeper. The world grows still. The wind softens to a hushed whisper. Clara stops for a moment, not in defeat, but to gather strength. Heidi squeezes her hand. The old man's voice reaches her, calm, deep, steady as the mountain itself. And then, Clara takes another step. And another. Until at last, she reaches the top. The view opens before her, wide sky, distant peaks, rolling meadows that stretch like a great green ocean beneath the sun. Tears fill her eyes, not of pain, but of joy so deep it feels like light rising from her heart. She laughs softly. Her father covers his face for a moment, overcome with wonder. The old man lifts his gaze toward the horizon, and a quiet peace settles across his features, a peace that feels like the closing of an old wound, long carried and finally healed. Heidi smiles through tears that sparkle in the sunlight. Clara sits and rests at the top of the hill, breathing slowly, gratefully, bravely. She has climbed. Not far in distance, but far in life. The mountain stands around them, strong, still, timeless, as if it has witnessed something sacred. Later, as they return to the house, the air feels warmer, the sky brighter, the world lighter. Laughter drifts across the meadow, and hope settles deeply into every heart. But far below in the valley, a message begins its journey upward. Words carried by hands that do not yet know what the mountain has given. Words that will bring decisions and change. The wind shifts gently. The sky grows thoughtful. And the story that began with longing is slowly moving toward its final turning. What news rises from the valley? And how will it shape the path that now lies before Clara, Heidi, and the quiet mountain home they have come to share? Chapter 20. Afternoon light rests softly across the meadow, warm and golden, spreading gentle shadows over the grass. The air feels calm, peaceful, and full, as if the mountain itself is resting after watching courage bloom upon its slopes. Heidi sits beside Clara near the wooden house, weaving small flowers into a delicate chain. Clara smiles, her spirit bright and steady, her eyes still glowing with the memory of the hill she climbed that morning. The old man works quietly nearby, his movements steady, his heart lighter than it has been in many long seasons. The world feels safe, quiet, whole. Then, from the path below, footsteps. Slow, measured, carrying purpose. A messenger appears at the bend in the slope, his coat brushed by dust, his hand holding a small folded letter sealed with careful wax. He greets the old man with respectful words, then places the letter into his weathered hands. The meadow grows still. Clara's father steps closer. The old man breaks the seal. The paper unfolds softly in the breeze. His eyes move across the lines. Something in his face changes, not sharply, not painfully, but like a distant shadow passing gently over sunlight. Clara watches, breath held. Heidi presses her hands together, heart fluttering like a bird waiting for unknown news. The letter comes from the city. From people of importance. Voices of rules and order. They write of Clara's progress. Of doctors and responsibilities. Of plans that have been shaped far away from wind and sky. They say she must soon return. Return to narrow streets. To polished halls. To careful voices that speak of safety, without understanding freedom. The wind shifts softly. The mountain seems to listen. Clara lowers her gaze. The strength she found does not fade, but a quiet sadness rises behind her calm smile, like clouds forming at the edge of a bright horizon. Her father reads the letter again, his brow tightening with conflict, his heart pulled between two worlds that do not yet know how to meet. The old man folds the paper. He speaks only a few simple words. He says that no piece of paper, no distant decision, can erase the strength that has awakened here. Whether Clara stays longer or must leave soon, what the mountain has given her will not vanish. It lives inside her now. Clara lifts her eyes. She knows he is right. Yet the thought of leaving the open sky, the meadow, the wind, the warm wooden house, feels heavy and unreal, like a dream someone is slowly trying to fold away. Heidi takes her hand. Her touch is warm, steady, full of quiet promise. The sun lowers toward the peaks, painting the world in deep gold and soft rose. The letter rests on the table, silent yet powerful, its presence shaping the air around them like a distant storm that has not yet reached the mountain, but is already changing the sky. Clara's father walks a little distance away, standing at the edge of the slope. He looks out across the vast horizon, at the gentle hills, the drifting clouds, the world that gave his daughter new life. His heart struggles. He knows the city expects her. Yet he has seen what only the mountain could give. Evening settles. Birdsong softens. The first stars begin to glow above the peaks. The letter remains unanswered. For now. The decision has not yet been spoken, but it waits. Quiet. Unresolved. Like a path disappearing into twilight. When the time comes to choose, will Clara return to the city, or will the mountain still hold her a little longer beneath its endless sky? And what final truth will reveal where her heart truly belongs? Chapter 21. Evening deepens slowly across the slopes. The sky turns from gold to soft violet, and the first stars shimmer above the distant peaks. The wind moves gently through the grass, carrying with it the quiet breath of the mountain, calm, steady, thoughtful. The letter rests on the wooden table inside the house. Unanswered. Uncertain. Full of words that weigh heavily on every heart. Clara sits near the doorway, wrapped in a shawl. The light from the fading sky glows softly across her face, revealing both strength and quiet sadness. Her father stands nearby, his gaze lost somewhere between earth and sky, between duty and love, between fear and hope. Heidi sits beside Clara. Their hands are joined. Their silence is full. Not empty. Full of feelings neither of them can shape into words. The old man stands a little apart, leaning against the wall of the house. His eyes move across the valley, then to the peaks, then back to Clara. His face is calm, but deep inside, something powerful and quiet stirs, like a great river running beneath stone. The wind grows stronger for a moment. It rushes through the tall grass. It brushes the wooden walls. It lifts gently at Clara's shawl, as if the mountain itself has decided to speak. Clara looks out toward the open world, the meadow, the slope, the sky that seems so wide and free it could hold every dream she has ever kept hidden inside her heart. And she understands. She is not afraid anymore. Not of falling. Not of weakness. Not of tomorrow. She whispers softly, more to the sky than to anyone else, that the mountain has given her something no letter, no doctor, no rule can take away. It has given her a soul that knows it can rise. Her father hears her words. They touch him deeply. He closes his eyes, and for a moment he feels like a child before the world, small, uncertain, standing between choice and destiny. He has always trusted safety, rules, the voices of others who claimed to know what was best. But here, beneath the open sky, another truth stands before him. He turns to the old man. Two lives weathered by time meet in silence, one shaped by city walls, the other by mountain winds. For a long moment either speaks. Then the old man's voice breaks the quiet. Low. Steady. Unshaken. He says the mountain does not hold Clara by force. It does not chain. It does not demand. It simply offers a place where the heart is allowed to grow. And if she leaves, what she found here will walk with her. Always. The words settle gently like falling snow. Clara's father breathes slowly. Something in his heart begins to change. Not all at once, but like ice melting in early spring. He kneels beside Clara, taking her hands in his. His voice trembles as he asks her what she truly wants, not what the city expects, not what others insist, but what her own heart quietly calls for. The wind fades. The night grows still. The mountain waits. Clara looks at Heidi. At the old man. At the sky. Then she whispers, she wants to stay. A little longer. To walk further. To grow stronger. To carry her courage deeper into her bones. Her father lowers his head. Tears fill his eyes. Not of sadness, but of release. He nods. Slowly. Fully. Freely. The letter remains on the table. Still unanswered. But now its power has changed. It no longer commands. It only questions. The mountain has already spoken. Night spreads across the sky, and the stars shine bright and fearless above the peaks. The world feels calm, even though the path ahead is still uncertain. Hope breathes softly through the darkness. But somewhere beyond the valley, the city has not forgotten. And its voice, distant yet persistent, is already waiting to rise again. When the city calls once more, will courage be strong enough to stand? And what last turning of fate still waits upon the quiet mountain before every heart finds its true home? Chapter 22. Dawn rises softly over the mountains, spreading pale gold across the sky. The air feels cool and clear, and a quiet calm rests over the meadow, as if the world itself is breathing slowly. The wooden house glows faintly in the early light, and the grass bends gently beneath the first touch of morning wind. Clara wakes with a peaceful smile. Her body feels tired, but strong. Stronger than yesterday. Stronger than the life she left behind in the city. Heidi greets her with bright joy, her laughter drifting across the slope like birdsong. The old man prepares simple bread and milk, his hands steady, his expression calm, yet behind his eyes rests a deep, quiet pride he does not speak aloud. After the meal, Clara asks to walk again. Not to prove anything. Not because courage demands it, but because her heart longs to move forward, even if only by a few small steps. They begin together. The air feels warm around them. The mountain listens. Clara rises, steady and balanced, her hands gently holding Heidi's. The old man stands close, silent and strong, while her father watches with hope glowing softly in his eyes. Step by step, she walks. Across the grass. Through the sunlight. Toward the gentle slope that once felt impossible. Her feet press into the earth. Her body trembles, but her spirit does not. She reaches the little hill. The same hill she once climbed with fear and shaking breath. But now, she climbs it with quiet trust. The wind moves through her hair. The goats pause and lift their heads. The sky seems to draw closer around her. At the top, she stops. The world opens wide before her, rolling fields, distant peaks, drifting clouds that glow with morning light. Her heart fills with wonder and gratitude so deep it feels like a soft, warm flame shining inside her chest. She sits to rest. And she does not feel weak. She feels alive. The old man joins them, lowering himself beside the girls. For a long moment, they say nothing. Words are too small for a moment like this. The mountain speaks for them, through wind, through sunlight, through the quiet strength that binds them together. Clara's father watches from below. He lifts his face to the sky. For the first time in many long seasons, he feels peace. Not the peace of giving up, but the peace of understanding. He no longer fears the path ahead. He trusts it. They walk back together, slow and gentle. Laughter rises lightly across the meadow. Warmth fills every corner of the mountain, every stone, every breath, every heartbeat. Later that afternoon, Clara's father speaks softly with the old man. Their voices carry across the slope, not sharp, not tense, but thoughtful and sincere. They speak of time, of patience, of returning one day to the city not in weakness, but in strength. Clara listens from a distance. She does not fear the thought anymore. Because she now knows something true, the mountain lives inside her. Wherever she goes. Evening returns with soft colors, rose, gold, and faint silver drifting across the sky. The wind brushes gently through the grass, and the first stars appear above the peaks like tiny watchful lights. The world feels safe. Complete. Quietly hopeful. Yet, as night settles, Clara's father receives one last message from the city, a final request, firm and unavoidable, calling for his answer, and for Clara's future. He folds the paper slowly. He looks toward his daughter. Toward Heidi. Toward the old man. Toward the mountain that has given them all new life. The choice is no longer difficult. But it is final. The wind grows still. The stars shine brighter. And the path ahead waits in silence. What final truth will be spoken beneath the open sky, and how will the mountain's story come to rest in the hearts of those who found healing upon its slopes? Chapter 23. The morning rises clear and bright, filling the mountain with soft, golden light. The air feels calm and full, as if the world itself understands that this day carries something important, something quiet and deep that will live in every heart long after the moment has passed. The wooden house stands peaceful on the slope. The grass moves gently in the breeze. The sky stretches wide and endless above. Clara sits near the doorway, wrapped in the warm sunlight. Her father stands beside her, the folded message from the city resting in his hand. The old man watches from a short distance away, steady and calm, while Heidi waits quietly at Clara's side, her small fingers woven gently through her friend's hand. No one rushes. No one speaks. The mountain holds the silence for them. At last, Clara's father opens the paper. The words inside call her back to the city, back to rooms of polished floors and narrow windows, back to voices that believe they know what is best. But his heart no longer trembles when he reads them. He lifts his head. His voice is soft, but firm. He says that Clara will return. Not because she is being taken away. Not because the city demands it. But because she goes back stronger, carrying the courage the mountain has given her, the hope she has found, the light she has awakened inside herself. He says the city will no longer be a place of shadows, because she will bring the mountain with her. Clara smiles. Not sadly. Not fearfully. But with quiet confidence. She knows now that the world is not divided between sky and stone, between city and meadow, between weakness and strength. Her strength lives inside her. And it will walk wherever she walks. She rises once more. Slowly. Gently. Her feet touch the earth. She takes a few small steps across the grass, not to prove anything, not for the eyes that watch, but for herself, for the child she once was, for the girl she has become, for the life waiting ahead. The wind lifts softly. The mountain breathes. The old man bows his head for a moment, and there is peace in his eyes, deep, quiet, complete. The long loneliness that once filled his home has melted away, replaced by warmth, laughter, and the gentle strength of love. Heidi stands close to Clara. Her heart shines with both happiness and sorrow, for though she must say farewell, she knows their bond will never fade. She promises softly that the mountain will always wait for her, that the wind will remember her name, that the meadow will welcome her whenever she returns. Clara promises the same. Two hearts. One sky. A friendship that distance cannot break. The carriage waits below the slope. Clara's father thanks the old man, not with many words, but with a look filled with respect, gratitude, and understanding that no city voice can ever erase. He thanks Heidi, too, for kindness, for love, for the light she carries so simply within her. Clara embraces Heidi. Their hands linger. Their eyes shine. Then, slowly, gently, Clara is guided to the carriage. The wheels begin to turn. The road winds downward. The mountain grows distant behind them, yet it does not leave. It remains inside their hearts. Heidi stands on the slope beside the old man, watching as the carriage disappears beyond the bend of the valley road. The wind brushes softly across her face, warm and tender, like a farewell that is not an ending, but a promise. The sky opens wide above them. The goats graze peacefully. The house glows with quiet life. The mountain is no longer a place of sorrow and silence. It is a place of healing, of hope, of beginnings. Heidi smiles. She turns toward the house, toward the meadow, toward the world that spreads endlessly around her. The wind sings gently through the grass, and the future feels bright, wide, and full of unseen paths waiting beneath the open sky. And somewhere far away, in a city of tall houses and narrow streets, a window stands open. The air moves through it softly, carrying with it the breath of the mountain, and the promise that courage, once found, never leaves. Thank you for listening to your daily audiobook. If this story touched your heart, stay with us for more calm, inspiring, and meaningful tales. Subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Your voice is part of the story too. Until next time, may your day be peaceful, and your imagination always open.